We all have them. Habits we wish we could change by just a snap of our fingers, but gosh, I wish it was that simple. Habits that have been bothering our life, our relationships with our spouse, with our family, our friends, and even at our workplace. How do we change them? In our previous video, we discussed the importance of changing our underlying beliefs that we hold before we focus on changing our habits. If you haven't watched that video, I urge you all to watch the first episode of this series before continuing watching this. Moving on. Oftentimes, simply changing our belief is not enough to quit that smoke or to stop yourself from drinking that glass of wine. Let's be honest, guys. Changing a habit is a hell of a task. We often find ourselves going back in relapse whenever we try to change or quit a particular habit. For instance, in case of our friend Nafsi. Now, those who don't remember Nafsi is a very close friend of ours who's been recently trying to quit smoking using the same strategy that we've been discussing. So Nafsi was able to identify and change his belief that motivated him to smoke, but smoking a pack of cigarettes every single day has been his routine for the past 6 to 7 months. Now, when he tried going cold turkey by stopping all at once, guess what happened? He often found himself giving in to his desires, later regretting it and being angry at himself for not sticking to his goal. Now that seems very familiar, isn't it? But let's face it, guys. Habits are tough to break, but possible it surely is. If not, how did an entire nation that were extremely addicted to alcohol give it up despite their love for it during the time of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When we try to change or quit certain habits, we often try going cold turkey by stopping all at once. But we all know that that's not an easy task and it rarely works. To change an entire nation that considered consumption of alcohol to be deeply connected to their culture could not be done by simply changing their belief system. Rather, the techniques and strategies the Quran employs to tackle alcoholism is surely going to leave you in awe. The first verse to be revealed that discussed the nature of alcohol in the Quran was in Surah Baqarah, where it said, "They question you regarding alcohol and gambling. Say, in them is great sin and benefit, but the sin is greater than the benefit." Very notably, the Quran does not ask them to stop drinking in the first verse. Rather, it simply informs them the nature of alcohol, educates them, challenges their beliefs, provoking them to think about the problems that alcohol is actually causing in their lives. Now, isn't that wonderful? Only when a person becomes conscious of the effects of a particular habit, the truth hits them hard that it's actually ruining my life. And now that's when a person thinks to themselves, I need to make a change. Now they want to stop, they want to change themselves. But the thought of change is way too uncomfortable for them. Even if they tried, it was such a hard habit to break. Now there are times where we find ourselves being conscious of the effects of our negative habits, our lifestyle, thinking to oneself that it's high time I stop. Now you may start the process of change, but before you know, you find yourself going back, relapsing. The companions of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam weren't any different either. They too found it hard. But the next verse to be revealed regarding alcohol gave them hope that change is possible. O you who believe, do not go near prayer when you are intoxicated until you know what you say. Surah Nisa, verse number 43. It's not simply that the Chinese proverb says, 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. Knowing that most of the people cannot commit to a rapid change, the Quran advises the people to take short steps which you can commit to before you take a lengthy jump to a region where it's completely surrounded by fears, which provokes you to quickly run back to where you started. The Quran also advises us to find an alternative behavior. Now, often is the case that we don't find similar pleasure and happiness in other activities that we might as well go back to what we were doing. Now, in their case, the 5-time daily prayer had become an integral and strong habit in their lives by then, which actually brought them a lot of happiness and peace. Now, they would never give that up for a glass of wine or any other such pleasures. Knowing that very well, the Quran helps them tackle the habit of drinking step by step by asking them not to come intoxicated while they arrive for prayer, focusing their time and energy on a much more recreational and satisfying activity. The same goes for you and I. Whenever we try to change, it's important we start small, but be consistent in what we do, and simultaneously find better things to do, things we love doing, that brings us comfort and happiness, and also the people around us. That being said, guess what happens next? The Muslims slowly start to see change in themselves once they reduce their intake. They gain confidence that they can tackle any habit out there if they take small and consistent steps. And that's when the next and final verse was revealed. O you who believe, intoxicants, games of chance, sacrificing to set up stones, dividing by arrows, are uncleanness, a devil's work. Keep away from it so that you be successful. The devil only desires to bring amongst you enmity and hatred by means of intoxicants and games of chance, to keep you away from the remembrance of Allah and prayer. Will you then desist? The books of history says the roads in Medina on that particular day were like a running lake of wine. As soon as the people had heard these verses, they ran home, broke their jars of wine and poured it out in the streets. Now let's think for a second. Would this have been possible if they were asked to do it in the very beginning? Never. Over time, this had become an easier task for them. The wisdom behind these verses, isn't it beautiful? But I've got something much more interesting to share with you. There were people among the companions who quit drinking when the first verse was revealed. And then there were people among the companions who quit drinking when the second verse was revealed. And then there were people among the companions who quit drinking when the third verse was revealed. What does this show us? It shows us that the Quran acknowledges individual differences. You and I are different. We have different levels of potential. So never give hope, never give up before you reach your destination. And it's okay. I repeat it, it's okay if we take our time as long as we're trying.